All right, welcome back to Scions of the Southland, everyone. My name is Akshay Schwarn, and joining me over from the beautiful campus of Georgia Tech in Atlanta, Georgia, is Jake Grant this fine Sunday afternoon.
I'm doing fine, thanks. How's San Francisco?
Well, you see weird things every day. I gotten a couple interesting push notifications from the Citizen app today about various crimes and just weird stuff happening in San Francisco. So I don't know, stays weird.
In the meantime, they sent out an email about naming the rooms at the new. I think they're calling it the campus center, but it's like the exhibition hall. Of the instead of the ballroom. I don't know. It's weird. But so the theme is naming it after Atlanta neighborhoods, right? You could pick 5. So naturally I picked Vine City, Bankhead, Home Park, and I think I picked Cabbagetown just because it sounded funky. But I'd love to go to a meeting in the Bankhead room when that thing is done.
You named 4 out of 5.
Yeah, I didn't have to choose 5. I felt that only 4 were deserving of my vote.
For East Atlanta Village or Buckhead or Midtown?
Didn't really fit the vibe, you know. Part of the strongest part of democracy is knowing when to not vote. 2019, Yikes. Jake Grant, take it to the bank.
Oh boy. All right, maybe we're going to have to clip that one for the soundboard. Anyway, thanks for tuning in this week. Thank you for tuning in this week. You can follow us online at FTRS Blog on Twitter. You can find us on Anchor, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, whatever podcatcher you use. We're a little bit sparse on participants today, with Cade doing whatever, Ethan busy with schoolwork, and last week's visitor, Ben, out and busy. So it's just me and Jake manning the podcast today.
I think Cade's eating sushi right now, but we'll let him do that in peace.
Damn it, Cade. We're not more important than sushi?
I think this is what happens when you schedule a podcast while the football game is going on, you know? People tend to miss that, but that's just my thought.
Hey, the Falcons game ended at 4.
That's fair.
I mean, I stopped watching it but it ended at 4. So
yeah, I had to disassociate myself from the place I lived over the summer because my old roommate wouldn't stop talking about how the Cowboys were going to win the Super Bowl. So it's just that kind of day, I guess.
Are they winning? I thought they were losing right now. Oh wait, no, they're playing the Giants. They're not losing.
Yeah,
there's no way they're losing.
I don't think Dan Jones is about to tear it up out of the gate. But
I think Eli started that game.
NCAA podcast, so
I think Eli started that game. So I don't know. All right, Mr. Grant, time to bring back an old classic, the fastest 5 minutes on the flats. Even though we really only have one sport to talk about, I have the soundboard set up. I have the music ready to go. So you give me the word, and we'll get going. Ready?
This has been a long time coming. I'm ready to go.
All right. 3, 2, 1, go.
All right. So this week we had volleyball. A little loud. So we had volleyball in action. We had golf in action. Volleyball started the week off with a rather sketchy loss to Kennesaw State. You don't really want to drop non-con games, especially in the ACC, and expect to make the tournament. But, there's plenty of time left to get some quality wins. But lost to KSU 3-1 on Tuesday. But we did get Mariana Brambilla back this week, and we saw them in action against Lipscomb and IUPUI Thursday and Friday. We dropped a set to Lipscomb on Thursday. Almost dropped one to IUPUI on Friday, but Tech wound up with 2 wins on the weekend, and were able to pull off the W in their final home non-conference tournament. Brambilla looked great. Bergman had 2 kills to seal the only set that was close against IUPUI, and then they were able to knock off them in 3 straight sets. Finally, we had golf in action. That was pretty expected weekend for them. So Tech was up at the Carpet Capital Collegiate, and they won their 10th Carpet Capital Collegiate title. I wanted to say that twice because I think it's a great name. So shout out to all the people up in Rocky Face and Dalton. Luke Schneiderjans went wire to wire with the win. Strafacey had a great round on Sunday, and Tech is sitting at number 3 in golf. And with that, I think that concludes what I have to say. Akshay, thoughts?
So the soundboard needs work. That's my main thought.
It was throwing me off a little bit. I'm not gonna lie.
So we went from too loud to too soft to where the mic on the soundboard wouldn't pick it up. It's a V1 or it's a V0. We'll get better over time. But yeah,
I think that's what they did about Jeff Collins' football team too. But that's for a little bit later.
We'll get to that. We'll get there. So volleyball, volleyball should not have lost at KSU.
Nope.
That was not good. What was the final score? 3-1 in favor of Kennesaw.
Yeah, they won the first set.
You win the first set, you should probably in Kennesaw, especially playing weaker teams. It's good that they beat UEPUI, but that Kennesaw one is probably going to come back to bite them when it comes time to decide the tournament or when we go to RPI. It's not great.
Our RPI was sitting at about 101 going into Lipscomb on Thursday night, I believe. And I know that those 2 wins against 2 just teams won't knock that in the right direction too far. But I'll go check that out, actually.
Yeah, I think this weekend will be better, and you play some better opponents, or at least opponents that I can recognize. So there's that.
Yeah, Tech usually gets a good road tournament in, and this year they have 2, so they'll definitely have to step up pretty quick with Oklahoma being chief among the teams they'll see out in Norman, and then coming back this way, except headed out east to play Arkansas, Georgia, and NC State will also be there, but they won't play them the weekend after that. So a lot of big names on the schedule coming up.
Yeah, it's a good time to pick up some early RPI points. They do well.
Yeah. Also, I checked RPI. They haven't updated it since last November. Tech was sitting at 101 at the time, though, so I don't think it'll be too different than back then.
Womp womp. It'll be fine.
Well, it's a growth year.
Right.
They've played almost totally juniors, seniors, or not juniors, seniors, sophomores and freshmen. So.
Yeah, I think they're still getting the depth and the rotation figured out. Like we talked about last week, Brambilla was out for last weekend, and she got some playing time this weekend, so that was good.
Looked rusty in the first set on Thursday, but yeah.
I mean, it's like the Falcons starting out week 1, having not really tried during the preseason. It happens.
Yeah, I totally agree.
Yeah, womp womp. Speaking of other things that looked rusty in their first appearances, Georgia Tech this weekend, Florida. Yes, we're going to call them South Florida because it pisses them off so much. Georgia Tech won 14-10. Like I said, it was ugly, but it's always good to win at home. Opening thoughts, Mr. Grant.
About the football or about the home?
I don't know. Why not both? Let's go for both.
All right. So one thing I don't talk about a lot in my columns and in Yellow Jacket Roundup and on the podcast, but it is a fact of my Georgia Tech experience is I'm a member of the Ramblin' Rec Club. Last year I was football chair. So the game day atmosphere is something that I've been pretty invested in my time on the flats. And yesterday was nothing like any other game I've seen at Georgia Tech. Some good, a lot of it just kind of weird. I thought again, I saw them play out in Clemson, but I didn't get to say this on the pod last week, but it just looked like a different Georgia Tech team out there. I am somebody who came into this fandom while they were deeply ensconced in the triple option. So it's very weird to see Georgia Tech out there without the explosive offensive definition that they've always had. We've been the book smart school with the weird offense and the curmudgeon as our coach. And yesterday, say what you will about the offense, but we were powered by our defense. And again, that goal line stop against, I think it was a third down. Yeah, I think it was third down because the band was playing Space Chords. But third down, fumble at the goal line, great stop. Our defense looked, honestly, I'd say it's one of the better ones I've seen from us with my own eyes. And that's great because Collins has the mind of a great defensive coach. So good steps there.
Minister of Mayhem. Minister of Mayhem.
Oh, shoot. If only this was a video. I have one of those Minister of Mayhem dollar bill things that they were handing out.
Oh.
Yeah.
All right. I have thoughts on that. I'm going to let you finish, though.
I was going to say, I've got thoughts on that too, but since I pulled it out, it's a $3 bill that says Minister of Mayhem and money down with the Georgia Tech seal on the left of his face and a GT with a crown on it on the right. It says Georgia Tech football. I can't understand the serial number. And the Secretary of the Treasury is Lawrence H. Summers. I don't know if that's old or accurate. Oh, and of course, it has its ubiquitous Georgia Tech Twitter handle on it. So,
but is it Coach Collins or is it the Big Time Football account?
It's at Coach Collins because his face is on it.
Of course.
Like
wait, is this signature? Is this act? Okay, cool. That's what I expected. I'm not surprised.
Yeah. Oh, and there's a slight watermark that's like the Campanile top in the background. That's kind of cool. I didn't see it yesterday.
That's kind of cool.
It's still dumb,
okay.
but like that's kind of cool.
I mean, yeah.
So what'd you see from home, Akshay? Obviously, that kind of took a couple left turns, but I want to know your thoughts.
More left turns than a NASCAR race. Here's what I think, and super tactically savvy, either of us. We usually leave that to Ethan and Cade, and last week we left it to Ben. So this is going to be more high-level thoughts from both of us. But offensively, I think we saw some positives. Like you saw the offense gain a little bit more ground in certain spots, but the play calling was still not super inspiring. You had Lucas Johnson start most of the snaps. James Graham came in for 4 or 5 plays. Tobias Oliver played a little slot receiver and got a little weird with the option in places, and then also played some quarterback. Someone commented this somewhere. I think it might have been a tweet that I saw, but at a certain point, I think Tech has just got to find a quarterback, and even despite his flaws, just sort of ride him out until and as far as he'll go. Because if we keep changing packages and we keep changing quarterbacks in and out, I think that just leads to a lot of confusion, and it's a situation that's ripe to be taken advantage of by opposing defenses that might be a little smarter than USF's was. Not to say anything, not to denigrate USF's defense, because they did a good job of, even on the explosive plays that we were planning, they did a good job of keeping us down. I think we only had 250 yards of total offense.
But they defended themselves out of that game with all those personal fouls. So don't sell yourself too short on that take.
Right, but the overarching point I'm trying to make is you have to pick one guy and stick with it, because it's bound to end up in disaster and mistakes if you just have to keep switching him out. And granted, you have a little bit of a schematic advantage intuitively when you keep throwing newer, like different quarterbacks in the mix, and defenses have to adjust to their tendencies. But if you're playing teams like other teams in the ACC, so like your Dukes, your UNCs that have seen Tobias Oliver, and then also have film on Lucas Johnson from Clemson and USF now, I think you just got to stick to one guy. I keep repeating the same point, but that's at the end of the day, that's how you're going to see improvement over the course of the game. You're seeing this offensive line that's already sort of not super strong and having to adjust from the option. They're having to switch how they do their pass protection depending on who's in at quarterback, and that's not sustainable. That's not sustainable week over week.
Well, I've got a question for you. Do you believe, Mr. Computer Science Guy, in momentum, be it team momentum or player momentum?
Oh my God, are you referring to this Twitter argument that we saw? What was it, earlier this week with David Hale?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, well, he makes good. It's not momentum as a concept, but I'm split on it because you can definitely see at times where coaches will run one play. They'll run like a play action, or they'll pass early on in a drive to set up the run later on, and commentators will drive that point home over the course of a game. I think it's entirely valid, like as a concept. The numbers may not agree with it, but it's more emotional momentum than sort of like this. Oh, the stat building. A logical thing, I think.
Yeah. If I might offer my own thoughts on it, I think you make a good point, and I would call that more riding the hot hand.
Yeah.
Because I know that's just repasting a physics argument with statistics gambling kind of lens, but I think it's definitely more true as to what happens. Like, if the defense doesn't know what's going on, they're not that they're not going to figure it out, but you might as well play what works until it doesn't, and I think we saw that with Tobias last year, tearing them apart in the second half, leaving Taquan, granted, talented kid. Thank you for your time on the flats, but Tobias was the hot hand, and they take him out and they lose the game. Tobias, when he was in, especially on the ground, seemed very effective, and now we see him at.
He's a great runner. Like,
we see him at slot and returning plays. Though, exactly to your point, this kid can play. And he was doing a fine job running the ball at quarterback.
He can play. He just can't play quarterback because he can't throw the ball. I'm sorry. He's a great athlete. Like, he's a tremendous athlete, but he can't throw the ball. And like in this offense and what Dave Patino wants to run, his play calling prowess or beside, you have to be. Otherwise, we're going to see defenses adjust like Clemson did, where when Tobias was in versus Clemson, they stacked the box and dared us to throw over the top. They knew he wouldn't be able to complete passes. They dared us to throw over the top.
Yep. You're not wrong. You're not wrong.
So, again, to wrap up the offensive discussion, pick a guy and stick with him, please. I think we'll see. I think we'll see a little bit more rotation next week versus Citadel, but I think after that, once you get into the meat of conference play, you find one guy and you ride the hot hand.
Yeah. One last thought. I honestly did not get a good look at the trick play because I was down front row in the student section, so I did not really see what was going on until it was unfolding in front of my eyes. Thoughts on the Dave? Wait, what were we going to call that? The Patino special?
I called
fever
it
dream.
I called it Dave Patino's fever dream. It looked like a swinging gate. if you remember the Colts, it was either the Colts or the Redskins. They set up in that play, took a false start penalty, and then set up in it again. And then, oh no, it was the Colts. They set up in it again versus the Patriots, and then lost like 7 yards when they actually snapped the ball.
It was
This
more like
one
a
was
door. It swang right back, bam.
Yeah, this one had a similar, albeit less negative effect. I guess we only lost a couple yards. I think it's good to mix it up a little and bring in the trick plays, like especially with the offense that we're kind of running. It reminds me a little bit of Chip Kelly's Oregon, getting weird with it at times and going a little bit higher tempo. But in this case, I think you need a little bit more powerful of an offensive line, or at least people up front to block for that run, and you have to pull it off fast. Like I think that play was coming off of, you weren't going tempo. You were just setting up. You took not necessarily getting set and then snap the ball. If you go tempo, you set up very quickly. You'll catch the defense off guard, and that might break someone free in the next game. So
yeah,
I don't know. I like getting weird with it. Just could have done better.
Fair enough.
Ooh, didn't mean to do that, but that is relevant. Let's see. I did want to point out with the NFL music, Georgia Tech did move up to 51st in defensive S&P plus or SP plus. Rip the ampersand. I don't remember Tech ever having that high of a defense. I mean, granted, it's week 2, but I think there's still something to be said for the improvements made so far there.
Mm-hmm. I agree, especially when that number 51 defense gave up 52 points to Clemson on a lot of yards. I guess I'll take it. I'm sure Phil C's system knows that Clemson was a good team, and kind of you expect them to run ramshackle over an okay Georgia Tech defense. But, I mean, you got to be, to borrow a phrase, a chaos creator, and it looks like Georgia Tech's done that with the tackles for losses and, I guess, general effective limitation. We had a couple turnovers, 3 and outs, a lot of punting. Their punter was pretty good. Ours is better, but
so was ours.
Yeah, definitely interesting to watch. I really like Trey Swilling's play so far. Trey, if y'all are old school From the Rumble Seat types, you might remember that my first article for From the Rumble Seat, shocking if you consider what I write now, aka History and Non-Rev Sports, was Trey Swilling's recruiting profile back before he...
That was a long time ago.
Yeah, before he came to the Flats, summer of 2017. But yeah, no, I've always liked the kid, had a soft spot for him, and I think he has very much a claim to be our MVP of the season so far. Trey's looked great, and Demetrius Knight playing well as a freshman. So I'll take it.
Yeah. All right. Cool. Let's move on to the Citadel.
Yeah.
All right. So 12:30 ESPN's ACC Network Extra and at home on historic Grant Field at Bobby Dodd Stadium. Georgia Tech will face FCS, located somewhere in South Carolina. I forget the exact city. There is no spread available, not really any odds on this at all. Tech is probably supposed to win this game by a lot. Citadel's last game was a 7-point loss to Elon, and they now sit at 0-2 on the season. Interesting note for those of you out there that don't know, Citadel does run the option, and they gave Bama some fits last year. I think they actually either were tied or led at halftime. So, yeah, Mr. Grant, some opening thoughts on the Citadel.
Obviously, this one's a cherry picker, but if we lose to a triple option offense, either our fans are going to go ballistic or they're just going to be numb. And at this point, I can see either being a realistic shot of happening.
There's a lot of Schadenfreude built into that. I'm not going to lie.
Oh,
especially if you were like a big triple option guy, like there'd be a lot of Schadenfreude built into this game.
See, I like to think I'm a pretty big triple option guy. So I would definitely be. I'd just be sad. I wouldn't be salty. Just like, But the Citadel is not that great of a team. I know you have fourth quarter scores have done them in. I didn't know that, but I don't know. They're 0-2 for a reason. They're a small school from South Carolina. We can joke all the time about Gardner Webb and like stuff like that, but Georgia Tech should beat this team, no matter how bad of a Power 5 team we are expected to tell. I like the 12:30 kickoff. I don't like the heat. Honestly, anything after straight up noon, and bless the Lord, we do not have an 11 a.m. kickoff. But
don't count your chickens. Don't count your chickens before they're hatched, Jake.
True.
I'm telling you, it's going to happen before the end of this season. We're going to be in that 11 a.m. slot on ACC Network, and I'm going to have to get up at like 8 a.m. to watch us. So, not looking forward to that.
Yeah, that wouldn't be great. But the 2 p.m. slot was bad. I know that this is not directly Citadel related, but other than it being hot as heck, I kind of like the leisurely morning. And then I still had time for dinner. But that's, again, more of a South Florida comment than the Citadel.
Yeah. Let's bring in some stats here. I wanted to touch on the thing that you said that I mentioned in our Google Doc here. I looked through the last while I was doing search. Looks like Citadel's lost these games. Granted, they're the other FCS opponents, but they've lost both of their games late. Towson, who was their game one, ended up scoring the winning touchdown with 1:30 left on the clock, and then Elon scored with 6 minutes left in the game. So it's not like they're not able to put points on the board. It's they have trouble holding on to these leads and finishing out games. Now, that being said, if you go off of S&P Plus for FCS teams, they were rated just about squarely between the bottom 2 teams in the nation, or the bottom 2 FBS teams in the nation, which are UMass and Utah, if you adjusted for FBS versus FCS. So again, I think obviously we agree this is a game that Tech can and should win. But if it gets announced, if Tech doesn't cover, I think we have
I just want to see them have a chance to run something consistent out of the offense. I know I'm not going to say this is going to be a cakewalk, but it should be a less stout of a defense than USF and especially Clemson. So I would like to see us get some sustained drives going and not open up the book, but just with a little bit less pressure. And again, I know that I'm saying things that I better knock on some wood. So there you go. But I'd like to see him open them up a little bit.
All right. I think that about covers it for the Citadel. Let's roll into our ACC Coastal tasting menu. Mr. Grant, why don't you...
I do want to say one more thing, Akshay.
Oh, my God. You're ruining my transitions here.
Usually I'm the one that makes them better, but I'll take... I do want to take 1 sec about the atmosphere at the stadium, right? Because I did say I was going to come back to that. A lot of that, I guess, is just on them figuring out what the heck they want to do in this new era or whatnot. Like, clearly they have money down. They printed off a bunch of fake money for it. But, the DJ wasn't playing at times that they said the DJ was going to play at. And the ride out behind the rec, there was a big awkward long pause after the rec rolled out and the football team. And then I guess there was no introduction of buzz. It just felt very different. And if they want the stadium to have a good vibe, and it was all right at times, I'll say yesterday, but if they want people to be really invested, they have to figure out, they got to sit themselves down and marketing or whoever has these conversations and go, hey, like, we need a unified experience. And we can't, it seems like they took a lot away from what it used to be, or at least a lot of like little details of what it used to be, and didn't do a lot of adding back, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I think there were just, in terms of atmosphere, obviously I'm watching from home, so I can't necessarily comment about in stadium. Whoops. But not seeing the rec ride out after the fact on Twitter, and the rec not being immediately in front of the team, that's a little different. As part of the Ramblin' Rec Club, which I also was a part of before I graduated, one of the things that you get is, as a senior, is you get to ride in the Rumble Seat of the Rec for a home game. And one of the things that I really enjoyed is the fact that the team is right behind you. It's an incredible experience to drive through a banner, which also isn't there anymore, but to drive through that banner with the team behind you. There's just this rush of energy. And granted, like we're saying, this is a work in progress. This is a V0 for the game day experience, and a lot of other parts went well. But seeing those pregame things that you and I have taken for granted, me over the last 4 years and you for the last 3, kinks, but it's just going to be a little bit of an adjustment period for y'all in the stadium and for us viewing at home.
Yeah, I can speak on good authority that the band doesn't like not playing space chords, and I knew that they were going to say that.
I have that. Okay,
That's
so it
so
was the
out of
recorder
tune.
version. It was the recorder version.
Oh my God! Oh, my ears. But I was gonna say I knew the band wouldn't like it, but I wasn't expecting to hear so many students go, it just didn't feel like Georgia Tech football. And that was like, but not in like the like, oh my gosh, everything's so hyped, but just in like, oh, it's hot, I want to leave, I'm not having a crazy great time. And I was like, that bums me out to see, but I don't know.
And I think it'll get better. It should get better.
LSU says let the band play neck. I say let the band play space chords. Let the team run right out, because that spike that you get from it's third down and then 300 people playing really loud and a bunch of students having those fingers waving and yelling is a little bit different than
Money Down does not have the same.
A single DJ playing a piped song that doesn't repeat. It's not like even Tennessee's third down for what was third down for what every time, even though it was the fog-hatting, dumbest thing I've ever seen at a football game. I just, you can change some stuff up, but you can't just take it all away, is my opinion. And Georgia Tech marketing has better figure that out, or there's just going to be, it's going to be a year zero of stadium too. And that's not how you get fans to want to come back,
Yeah. It'll get better. It should get better. It's week 1 at home, or week 2 in this case, but it's your first home game of a new era and mostly new staff. Like even in the athletic department and some of the assistant positions. It's not like it was bad by any means, but it's just it'll get better. It'll get refined. It'll get tweaked. You have to understand. Well, we have to sort of take into consideration that we saw in my 4 years and your 3 years so far is built on top of what almost like a decade of Paul Johnson and the way that he wanted things run and the way that the marketing department had worked with him to get things run. So it's, again, work in progress.
Yeah. I don't know. I'm learning quickly that I'm more of a curmudgeon than I thought. And I had one last comment. I do this to myself a lot. For those of you who know me in real life, it's so true. But yeah, no, turnout, especially for those later ACC games, hopefully will be an uptick. And that's what I'll leave it at.
Yeah.
Oh, yes. One good thing. The under tunnel that the players walk through looks super cool now. I got to say. It's like,
I'm jealous.
The DJ down there was actually working. There was lights and a big banner that was like, not even a banner, like a big mural on the wall under the stadium. Like, that would get me hyped if I was running out to that as a player.
It looked like a dance club the entire time from what I saw. It was cool. Like, when I was down there, it was all concrete.
Concrete and balloons taped to the wall? Yeah, I know the feeling. Banners stuck in the corner.
Back in my day.
I remember my comment. The greatest loss, or not even loss, but like the best thing they got rid of is getting rid of that steam whistle.
I like the whistle. You like the whistle.
I did like the whistle, but that thing was a lot more trouble than it's worth, even though running the fog gun was pretty great. Great game day experience. But if rumor is to be believed, they're working on a real steam whistle for the stadium, so that would be definitely a step up. Like,
oh yeah, it'll be like the cannons. It'll be like the cannons at
Virginia Tech. California has one
Virginia
too.
Tech. Cal does it. Washington does it. USC may do it. What am I thinking of?
Shout out to my boy
there's
who
a lot
runs
of
the
teams.
California Cannon. I got you, Con. But yeah,
there's having like a prop like that would be fun. I'd be down.
Yeah. Well, again,
especially since we don't have to run it.
True. But yeah. Anyways, I derailed us from that. Thanks for indulging me.
Hey, lots of left turns like a NASCAR race.
True.
All right, Mr. Grant, time for the ACC Coastal tasting menu for real this time. All right, let's get started. Go for it.
All right. Friday, UNC at Wake, 7 p.m. And this is a non-conference game?
Yeah, that's weird. That one was a weird aberration in the schedule. It's weird that doesn't count for ACC standings. This is some weird John Swafford Tobacco Road stuff. I don't know.
You think UNC will start 3-0?
I mean, unless the claw fence gets going in a really good way, which it has been the last couple of weeks. Yeah, honestly, I think I'd pick UNC here. Not that I have a vested interest, but yeah, give me UNC.
All right, Saturday, Pitt at Penn State. Penn State is favored by 16.5 in their third straight home game. They're on ABC at noon.
Ugh, Pitt. This game was weird last year. I remember Pitt looked good for about a half, and then Penn State blew the doors off of them. So give me Penn State here. Give me Penn State to cover too, because I don't believe in Pitt. Their new uniforms are good. Don't believe in Pitt as a football team.
We head up there in 2 weeks.
Womp womp.
And we got Furman at BBPCW minus a lot, or what our show notes say. I can only assume that there's either no line or
there's no spread on this one.
Okay, because it's FCS. Yeah, and that's on at noon as well, but they're on the worldwide leader in ACC sports.
Furman proved yesterday that they are, in fact, better than Tennessee. They only lost to Georgia State by 6. Tennessee lost by 8. That's all I got to say on that one.
Cool. Then we got Bethune-Cookman at Miami, also minus a lot. That's 4 p.m. on the same old worldwide leader in ACCN.
Miami's going to have to find an offensive line somewhere here soon. This is not productive for them. Miami is 0-2 going into this game versus Bethune-Cookman.
Mm-hmm.
It's a gimme. but they're gonna have to. They might have to work for it, honestly. Also, these ACC network slots being offset from regular broadcast slots. Weird. A 3:30 game. I don't know why they have it offset by 30 minutes. It kind of makes me upset.
It's a game to tune into if your game goes into commercial. If you're a casual fan, is my guess. But
it's weird because
otherwise,
all of them are what? It's like 12. It's like 11 o'clock, which starts before all the other at 2, which should be 3 instead, and then 4, which should probably be like 6. Like, why not just go with the normal numbering system or the time system that we've established in college football? Why be weird? I don't understand.
Akshay, we live in a brave new world of college football in 2019. Nothing is the same.
It's still going to be just as chalky as ever. Continue.
We got Duke -3 at Middle Tennessee State, 7 p.m. on your local, probably not dead Raycom Sports, I guess. Is that Raycom?
No, I didn't see a network provider, so I just assumed it's on an RSN, and probably also available via ACC Network Extra.
Huh.
This game is weird. Duke is only getting 3 points here, which is basically a home field advantage. That's weird. That's scary. Duke should be better than that.
Yeah, well, they probably draw worse than Middle Tennessee, so maybe that home field advantage is helping out the boys. I was going to say the boys in blue, but then I remember Duke is in fact
both of them
blue.
are blue.
So, yeah.
Blue Devils versus Blue Raiders.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know.
And then last
what we
got Florida State at number 24, Virginia, who's favored by 8 at 7:30 p.m. on ACC Network.
All right, now this is a normal broadcast slot. Thank you. This is entirely a normal broadcast slot. FSU is bad. They did not look any better than they did versus Boise versus ULM. They probably should have lost to ULM. UVA is probably your prohibitive Coastal favorite, even though UNC might have something to say about that. SP Plus also says that UVA has a 10% chance of winning 11 games this season, which is weird and very uncomfortable. Give me UVA to cover.
You telling me we're playing in Charlottesville this year? Oh dear, I'm in danger.
Yeah, I hope you're not trying to go to that one because Mendenhall might blow the doors off, especially after last year.
Oops.
All right.
But yeah, that's the Coastal at a glance.
All right. Tasting menu. Totally didn't steal that segment from PAPN, but yeah.
It's still an SB Nation property. You don't have to worry about that.
As long as I don't have to pay for a copyright, I think I'm good. I don't have the money for that.
But we do have one more segment that is entirely our own, right?
Indeed. Big balls. Paul's calls of the week. You know, I really thought about renaming this after Jeff got hired.
No.
But
absolutely not.
We still don't. We haven't seen Jeff take like a lot of fourth down risks, I feel like. Like in the Clemson game, we punted from Clemson's 35 a couple times. He needs to show the risk taking before we consider it more.
He's about as conservative as Akshay in a club, so
I don't know what that means.
Exactly.
Is that okay? Well, all right, Jake. You didn't pick a game last week, but you want to read out what our fellow from the Rumble Cedars picked?
Yeah. So Ethan had UCF -8 at FAU, and UCF looked a little bit better than -8 against their in-state, not quite rivals, in-state shenanigan partners. I don't know. It was a game.
Train?
It happened. Yeah, the lane train is it's
derailed.
not just off the rails. It's sunk to the bottom of some swampy lake over in Boca. And then we had Ben's 0-1 pick, ODU at VPSU minus 28, and Virginia Tech. They won this year. They won, but only by 14 over
They
Old
squeaked
Dominion.
that one out. They really squeaked that one out.
I mean, they got their W, but wasn't minus 28.
ODU against the spread, baby. Should have picked them again.
Yep.
All right, Mr. Grant. All right, Mr. Grant. You lost your Stanford Northwestern last week, if I remember correctly, on one of the worst bad beats I think I will ever have seen live.
You saw that live? Wow.
Well, I didn't go, but I watched it on TV, so I'm going to count it.
Fair enough.
All right.
Yeah, my game this week is one of the best rivalries in all the corn-fed Midwest, and that is El Asico, as per our fellow SB Nation cohorts. I guess they're now Banner Society dubbed them, but it's number 19 Iowa at ISU, who is receiving votes.
Number 26. Number 26 ISU. Thank you.
Yeah. They're favored by 1 at home in Ames, 4 p.m. on FS1 Eastern time. I'm going to have to go Iowa on that one to win outright. So I guess they have to win outright.
Yeah, at one point, it's kind of a push. Anything between, 2 points plus or minus.
If it wasn't 1, I'd go for the memes and call it a push. But, at that point, I just want to call Iowa the winner outright.
All right, so Iowa gets the Cyhawk Trophy from Mr. Grant. College Game Day will be in Ames for the first time ever, so that's kind of fun.
That is.
This should be a good game. It's going to be a lot of power football versus the weird shenanigans that ISU does on offense. So, I'm actually really excited to watch it. All right, I picked Nebraska versus Colorado last week, and I took Colorado plus 7.5. Yes, the boys in Boulder. They took it to OT, and they took it to Nebraska, who I knew was overrated. 34-31 Colorado. Count me a winner.
Except in Pick'em, Akshay. Except in Pick'em.
I don't want to talk about it. Totally didn't go 1-10 this week. It's fine. It's fine. I didn't even pick this game as part of our Pick'em, so I kind of regret that. All right. What did I put on the sheet for this week? Oh, yes. Number 24, USC, which I guess, I think I misreported these. Anyway, ranked USC is favored by 4 at BYU, 3:30 p.m. Eastern on ABC. This is an interesting one. BYU is coming off of an OT win in Tennessee. Also, man, Tennessee is a dumpster fire. And USC blew the doors off of Stanford in the second half in Los Angeles, which was kind of depressing to see. But this is going to be it's really going to come down to, for this one, I think it's going to be whoever can handle the emotional, coming down from the emotional high that they're both on right now. And the way that Keaton Slovis played versus Stanford, and the way BYU just kind of had to scratch and claw through to get past Tennessee, a Tennessee team that was effectively giving them the game, I think I go USC on this one, and probably to cover too.
Speaking of Tennessee, if you guys haven't seen our colleague Connor Knapp go through great pain on the internet, be sure to check out Barstool Gambling, because he was live to call the end of the Tennessee BYU game. But I like this BYU USC game. I think it'll be tight.
I really hope BYU wears their royal blue uniforms and not the navy blue, because the royal blue looks so much better.
Fair enough.
but I think they might just have those for Holy War. So I expect to be disappointed. But I'm also a Falcons fan, so kind of in place for me at this point. Womp womp.
Womp womp.
All right, Mr. Grant, any final thoughts?
No, sir. I got in my my thoughts about football, got in volleyball. We'll see them both in action next week. And golf looked very convincing in their win. So, all in all, you can't really ask for much else. Dropping one against Kennesaw State is just the price to pay for wins in 3 sports, I guess.
Small price to pay for salvation, as one movie star might say.
Both. All right. And we'll see them back next week at the same bad time, same bad channel.
Yep. We will see you all, like Jake said, next week. Peace out.
Bye.